That is probably the scariest 3 minutes and 4 seconds I have sat through. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know my favorite time of the year is October because it's Halloween. You might want to consider this an early gift from me to you. And if you're one of the quite a few thousand subscribers who've not yet hit that subscribe button on my channel, make sure you do it now because by golly, this video will give you a sleepless night, I guarantee it.
Yes, Thames Television, the station with knockers. Excuse me, there's one now. Yes, can I help you? And what that really means is...
Woke! Woke! And then you can come on each other's faces and tell each other that come on your face cleanses you of wokeness.
It's 1998 and it is Mel Gibson on the promotional tour for Conspiracy Theory, which is a pretty good film actually, directed by the great Richard Donner. But boy oh boy, when you hear this piece, what Mel Gibson has to say about the town of Hollywood, you might not be so enthused about being a film fan anymore. So without any further ado, folks, let's hear the great Gibson himself talking about, well, Hollywood town.
You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And and I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because a whole place can't be like, you know, Weird Town, you know, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them and they tell you.
Yeah, just hearing about that account where somebody walks in like a complete stranger and everybody suddenly comes to a screeching halt, you know, drinking or having a laugh because this particular person walks in. Yeah.
You don't go to the house on the hill, and it's like that.
Yeah, the Jeffrey Epstein house.
And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like, could it? And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff. Not specifically on track, but that you could, that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time, and you think, No, he came to see me on a rooftop in New York. I said, hey, can I talk to you? And he said, sure. And he floated in, sideways. Through a crowd of people. He was wearing black, and it was like one of those old vampire movies where they don't walk but they glide. And
you know what, being a horror fan, if I was on the rooftop at a party and a random stranger glided in almost floating off the ground, I would be freaked out but genuinely excited at the same time. And look, while you might accuse Mel Gibson of being a paranoid conspiracy theorist, the man is a devout Catholic. I think he's referred to as God's soldier or God's Samaritan, because a lot of the stuff he says I actually agree with. And even though I'm not religious myself, I mean, you never know, I could convert at some point. It's just really eerie and terrifying what he says about Hollywood.
he was a dancer, you know, so he has he's very
Nosferatu.
you know, graceful.
Yeah.
And he moved sideways, and he just sat down in a chair next to me, and it kind of frightened me. And he's a very smart guy. And we started talking, and I didn't, you know, say much of anything about reading the script, nothing. I just started talking about the Middle Ages, and he began to talk tortures. And we swapped tortures, because I'd read this book on torture, and I tried to recall some of the most heinous things I'd ever read in this book.
Or you can watch an episode of 24 and pick up a few ideas about torture there.
And he was like, and he'd try and top it. And and my assistant was there, and he left because he couldn't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
The air had turned cold. And then he left, and I wanted to leave. And because I knew...
But like a vampire, he just compelled you to stay there, Mel Gibson. He compelled you!
That I didn't want to work with him.
Yeah.
And he was getting scary.
Yeah.
There's a producer I know, successful producer. I will not mention names, but his whole opinion about women on film, from beginning to end, is very brief. He says, women on film, either naked or dead. Both is better.
Whoa!
And it's like, whoa. Whoa.
Ouch.
The man has got a spiritual malady for a start. I mean, the scary thing is that I think a lot of people think that.
Can we just look at the word malady? I've never heard of it before. Malady, what does it mean? A disease or ailment. Oh, bloody hell. Jeez. That is probably the scariest 3 minutes and 4 seconds I have sat through. Look, Quentin Tarantino made Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a few years ago, which is basically just highlighting how dark that place became after Charles Manson. But we have to remember, long before Charles Manson murdered Sharon Tate, Hollywood was already a dark place anyway. If you go back to Fatty Arbuckle in the 1930s or 40s, what he did, I can't actually even disclose what the man did, because if I did, I'll probably be demonetized at this point. You can look it up yourself. He was a pretty disgusting dude. But after hearing this about what Mel Gibson had to say about Hollywood, you can tell why the man still needs to be a spiritual person at heart. Yes, Mel Sugar Tits Gibson has made some mistakes before, but it doesn't mean to say the guy isn't without merit. And honestly, what he says here, it feels like it's a case of the X-Files. You know, all I need is Dana Scully beside me, and we could have a 3-hour conversation with Mel Gibson about what else he's seen in Hollywood. And I've always heard this thing that Hollywood, yes, we know they're going through this whole delusionment at the moment about their writer's strike, how they want more money, how they feel entitled, and how they're trying to brainwash the cinema going public with the type of films and content they create. I've even heard about, I'm sure it was Jamie Foxx who talked about seeing satanic signs at certain award ceremonies you go to, and I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? I mean, you and I can't see because the way the cameras are set up, you can't see that stuff. But as much as I do love films and entertainment, I know there's a dark, seedier side to Hollywood. Hollywood is Hollywood. You and I, the normies, we go about our day-to-day lives. That's it. That's where the line starts and ends. But Mel Gibson, I'm glad this clip is floating around again. There's a lot of truth to it, and there's a lot of cynicism in me now about what Mel can only alleviate, or rather allude to. You know what? At some point you can look at this and go, oh, this is a piece of PR spiel for the conspiracy theory. A nice way to entice the audiences in. Yes, I could see that, but at the same time, you know, often when you're sat in front of a camera or you're, recounting being probed by an alien, that you're not being believed. I think this is one of those prime examples where we don't believe Mel Gibson, but given what's going on today in society, in the woke media, everything else, oh, I believe Mr. Gibson 100%. So folks, if you enjoyed my video today, make sure you leave a like below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if I were you, and if you were me, and if you have nightmares tonight, well, don't blame me. You can catch me on my next video.